I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call the Lamar's City Council regular meeting for May 6, 2025 to order. Roll call, please.
Goodchild.
Here.
Wick.
Yes.
Sturgeon.
Present.
Bruns.
Here.
Pick.
Here.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. General discussion, citizens. Any citizens here to address the council? Nope. We got a big agenda today, so I'm gonna keep moving. Thumbs up board. Start on my right. Brad.
Couple of them. Holzman Lawn Care, or whatever they call themselves, for doing the Foster Park project. That looks great. Grass is germinating. And then secondly, and I've been meaning to do this one for a while, I think it was Wells, little strip they have along Central Avenue on the southeast part, on Central, across from Mantrap, the little landscaping work they've done there. It looks nice.
Good. Brian?
Pass.
Clark?
Yeah, those are both really good. I had mentioned Foster Park really did really excellent work fairly fast. So yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, I don't have anything. Steve?
I have two. Community theater production, You Can't Take It With You, was, again, well done. Always fun to go to, and they did a nice job with that. And our streets department for keeping our alleys nice and level and getting the holes out of them when the puddles start to appear. So, thumbs up to them.
Mark?
I have two. The market at Shop Near the Corner, they had a soft opening. I went in there. Everyone should take the time to go in there. There's just a ton of really neat stuff to choose from. It's like a craft fair where the craft person isn't watching you and breathing down your neck. So you have time to really enjoy it. It's a great idea. And then kind of preemptively, the graduates this year, including my granddaughter Autumn and goddaughter Charlie.
Oh, there you go. And thanks for the reminder, Brad. Brad mentioned the Arts Center banquet gala that was last Friday night that he and I both attended. I don't remember if I ran into anybody else there, but was really very well done. The gal who lived in Lamar's for a couple of years that came back and performed was fabulous.
Yes,
Champion was her name,
yes.
I believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great
So-
night. Great
Yeah,
night.
great night. So thanks to all those and volunteers that put that on. So moving on to consent items. Under the consent items, we have an approval of the April 15, 2025 regular meeting minutes, a list of bills period ending 4/30/25, renewal of the liquor license for Archie's Fairway Eagles Peas Iowa Barbecue, a request to close the street for Plymouth County cyclists, and an appointment.
Rob, I'd just point out on C4, the date of June 22nd for the street closure is correct, but it's Sunday, not Saturday.
Oh,
We're gonna
okay.
write on a Sunday this year.
Gotcha.
Motion to approve consent 1 through 5
Second.
with the change Mark mentioned.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Action items, Dogwood 4th edition, final plat. On April 29, 2025, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the final plat, restrictive covenants, and proposed zoning of Dogwood 4th edition. The final plat consists of 31 lots, and all lots are proposed to be zoned R1 single-family residential. The final plat and restrictive covenants are attached. Also attached is a development agreement between the City of Lamar's and Dogwood Properties outlining the responsibilities for each for the installation of infrastructure. The city's responsibility will be our typical 50% cost share of sanitary sewer mains, water mains, and storm sewer. Administration and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend council approve the final plat and restrictive covenants as well as proceed to a public hearing to rezone. Administration also recommends council approval of the development agreement. The city's cost for infrastructure will be $439,376.25.
Jason, 50/50, that's been our standard. Completely support that. But I would like to, Mike Murphy, you can maybe weigh in here too, and Mark Gall. I've been a proponent of really trying to expedite and/or incentivize single-family dwelling construction or duplex construction. So what I'm going to bring up right now is that our payback be no payback on lots that sell and break ground within 4 months. So as lots sell, if the person buying the lot is breaking ground and building a home within 4-6 months, breaking ground, that there is no payback required. There is no city reimbursement, because these are reimbursed as they sell per lot? No? Okay, how are they paid back? I thought they were as they sold lots.
Acceptance of the infrastructure.
So he's responsible right then?
Yeah, and we pay them.
Okay. I'd like to figure out a way to incentivize this type of development and promotion of this development, giving somebody, the developer, the person buying the lots, some sort of an incentive if they break ground, within 4 or 6 months. I'm trying to make it better. What's that, Mike?
He gets an incentive, that's what the development agreement is.
No, he does, but I'm saying, but I could go out and buy 10 lots. And there's no motive for me there's no real push for me to go ahead and break ground and start building, because I want to see building.
Other than you're carrying the loan on the
Well,
lots.
And there's also a covenant, I can't remember what the covenant is when you have to break ground.
Within 2 years.
2 years.
Once you buy the lot, you have to build something on there in 2 years. And you can't hold a lot just for future investments. You have to build on it.
Okay.
Which is where the city gets it, so.
Okay.
My suggestion, if you want to incentivize 100% of it.
All I know is that I'm trying to incentivize single-family dwelling construction and duplex construction and badly needed elderly construction. That's what I'm really trying to promote here.
Yeah.
So I'd like to figure something out that we can do. And I'll leave this alone right now, but I would like to do something
I'm sure
to incentivize more construction.
Well, the
Mark
incentive
can
for
do some
people, they
research.
get that, in there,
Well,
a break on the taxes.
there is.
Right.
Yeah.
They get 75 already, but that's the maximum we can do.
Yeah,
Am I correct?
right, that's for an abatement.
Right.
What we could consider, and we can do some research, but you could consider an incentive to the purchaser of the lot with a minimum assessment agreement after a certain point in time. And I've had history doing that in other communities where the city would provide whatever that incentive would be, and then that person that buys the lot would sign a minimum assessment agreement, meaning they would start paying taxes at a certain level after, let's say, 12 months, which causes them to build because they're going to be taxed as if the building was there.
Okay.
Those are the types of things we can do. What we will do is I'll visit with LBIC and we'll come up with a proposal for you guys to consider. And we also have to figure out how we're going to pay for it.
Right.
So, but there's ways to do it.
Do you understand
I
my,
understand exactly what you're asking for, but we need to come up with a plan to present to you guys.
all right,
And what we're gonna do and how we're gonna fund it. And we'll come back with a proposal, and then you guys can adjust it from there.
okay,
Give me a couple of months to do a little
it's
research.
totally fine.
Okay.
Yeah, all right, thank you.
Motion to adopt resolution 2517 approving the final plat and restrictive covenants for Dogwood 4th edition.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Goodchild.
Yes.
Wick.
Yes,
Pick.
Yes.
Sturgeon.
Yes.
Bruns.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Motion to approve the development agreement for the development of Dogwood 4th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And then I'll make a motion to establish May 20, 2025 at 12 p.m. as a public hearing to rezone Dogwood 4th from agricultural to R1 single family.
Second.
The motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Pick,
Yes.
Wick,
Yes.
Goodchild,
Yes.
Sturgeon,
Yes.
Bruns,
Yes.
Motion carried. Item D2, Dogwood 5th Edition Final Plat. On the April 29, 2025 date, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the final plat, restrictive covenants, and proposed zoning of Dogwood 5th Edition. The final plat consists of 22 lots, and all the lots are proposed to be zoned R1A, medium density residential. The final plat and the restrictive covenants are attached. We will need to negotiate a development agreement between the City of Lamar's and Dogwood Properties outlining the responsibilities of each for the installation of infrastructure. The city's responsibility would be our typical 50% cost share of sanitary sewer mains, water mains, and storm sewer. In this case, the developer is also asking the city to share in the cost of street paving at 50%. The request is being made because a large portion on the south side of 20th Street Southeast is proposed to be deeded to the city for a park. Administration and the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend council approve the final plat and restrictive covenants as well as proceed to a public hearing to rezone. The city cost for infrastructure will be $415,144.75.
Okay, so where this one is different, is, look at your plat. So I'm not asking you today, unless we come to an agreement, to approve a development agreement, because I do want some discussion, because this one is different than the previous one. But if you look at your plat, there's a significant part of that ground labeled as Cheryl L. Trust Wells, Cheryl Wells Trust, I'm sorry, that in all discussions we have, it is their intent to deed that property to the city for a park. We don't have any written confirmation of that yet, but that's been their plan for quite a while now. So in this case, the developer, Steve, is asking for something different than we typically do. He's asking for 50% share of the concrete street all the way from First Avenue to the tie-in of Third Avenue Southeast. So like I said, that's different than what we've done in past. So that needs to be discussed. And that's what Steve has given me a cost for, is that entire length. Typically, I guess my thing I feel most comfortable with, and I've talked a little bit to Steve about this, but I want council's input, is that portion of the street that would fall in front of the future park, I have absolutely no issue with, because I guess it's not right to have Steve pay for that when he doesn't own the ground on the other side. So I'm completely comfortable with that part of it. But it would be setting a precedence if we were to pay for that entire length. So that's where I want the input from you guys of how to proceed with that.
The entire length is how much? Because this looks to be about 800 feet.
I don't know if I have the length.
And that part maybe doesn't matter as much as, what precedent are you, if it's gonna be a park,
Those portions of the paving where we do not own any ground on either side of the street, that has typically been the developer that pays for that.
right, but if we're being told it's gonna be deeded to us for a park, which is badly needed in that area, a green space up in that area,
Well, I do have, okay, so if you want to break it down like that,
I mean, because there's what, eight
the portion.
eight lots
yeah.
that can't be sold. If there were to be sold, we
Yeah,
wouldn't
so
be
from
doing
my,
it.
from my research on this plat, okay, so the portion that falls within, that is completely adjacent to what would be a future park, okay, is 52% of the paving numbers that I
Follow.
Okay, Okay, so that's the portion I have no issue with paying the 50% follow.
50% of 52%.
50% of 52%. Okay, but the request from Steve is to pay 50% of 100%.
Of the total.
Okay, so,
Do we have any idea what the total would cost us?
well, the total cost for phase
Street.
5 paving is $358,655.
That's the total street.
That's the total. So we'd be asked to pay 50% of that, which is $179,327. Whereas if it was 50% of 52%, it would be $94,684.
Okay. You said you weren't looking for a decision or anything like that, but I would look very favorably at supporting this.
100% of the whole thing.
I would also.
What's that?
I would also.
Yeah, I think so. I really do. We need a park up there. I mean, unless there's something I'm not thinking about, but I think I can support 100% of the whole thing.
Well, another thing too, is, it's the first 55 and older community designated and everything like that. It's been something that we've been trying to get into the city for a while. And
Absolutely.
It'll just be a nice little jump start. It's, $70,000 and, every little bit helps because it just, helps with the price of the lots and everything.
And I knew that was kind of the whole idea of this area, and like you said, we had a town hall, it was testified that people want that type of housing area, so I mean, I want to incentivize single-family dwelling, and I'm including, duplexes in that. So I can support if that.
What's the approximate acreage of the park, do you know? Sarah?
It's almost, about almost 6 acres, 5
Okay.
something.
Yeah, so we're getting plenty of value back. I mean, so.
As long as we have,
I just,
I don't have a vote, but if we can get it in writing before we.
right, as long as we have the assurance in writing that that's all going to take place. Exactly.
Yeah.
I put the brakes on this in our legal meeting because of that. We have to have some assurance that we're gonna get the park before we can agree to a development agreement to pay for the street. And that could
I
come.
don't think anything should be signed until you have that in writing too.
Correct.
I agree that's right.
But with
yeah,
those
the paving you said the
guarantees,
other day is probably not till about August.
Yeah, August won't be, I'm sorry, paving will not be till August, September, because the infrastructure is scheduled to be done August 1st and September 1st with each development. So we got time on this thing, whatever, and as soon as Mike and Cheryl decide what to do, it'll be fine.
And like I said on the onset, I wasn't, necessarily voting on it, Mike. I do appreciate your insight on that, but I'm just saying, I can support something like this pretty easily.
saying it's a good
Yeah.
positive development.
I'd say we just do the plat and hold the development agreement later.
Yeah, so that's why I worded it different. The second motion to authorize an agreement be drafted. That agreement will come back to you guys for approval. So I'll just hold on to that until we've finalized the whole thing with Mike and Cheryl.
So if we do get that as a park, is there any plans to maybe put in diagonal parking there instead of just the street?
That's actually in the concrete portion.
I thought there was some in there that I had seen.
There's diagonal parking.
There's a
There's a picture.
cost for parking lot.
I thought I saw some diagonal parking because it was brought up because,
That may have been.
but maybe it was way preliminary too.
No, it's a backyard.
That might have been in an earlier version you probably showed us at one point, Steve.
Yeah, there's always been diagonal parking spots.
Along the park?
Yeah.
On 20th Street Southeast, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah.
Okay.
The south side.
I wanted this discussion, I mean, because this would be different than what we've done in the past.
So, but before you, since you brought it up, I'm gonna bring it up again. What is your concern about setting precedent? Because that's one that
Well, we need to be able to differentiate, I mean, because you've noted a couple things that, we're getting a park, and, I mean, but this may start the precedence of the next developer coming and say, hey, well, you pay for this concrete, why don't you pay for my concrete?
but is he giving me a park? Is he giving me, I mean, there's,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
what
we
I.
gotta be able to explain that.
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree with Jason with regard to that. Who knows, I mean, I'm 100% behind this, but it's just,
You gotta explain
you just
why.
never know what's gonna come down the road and somebody says exactly what you said and come up with some other reason that they think it ought to be and stuff, so. As much as I just think it's just to be careful with the precedent that we set with it is all.
Right, and
Again,
it should be
it's
case by
supportive of the
case.
project.
Case by case.
Case by case, because if someone real close to this wants to do the same thing, we don't need two parks that close. So each one would get their own.
Yeah, case by case can be hairy though too, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I
we've
just-
tried to be very consistent, so every developer knew
The rules,
what
Yeah.
they could get from us.
right.
So now we're just gonna kind of get into the area of, well, we're gonna open it up to requests a lot more.
But it's just like Board of Zoning Adjustment, when I sit in Board of Zoning Adjustment, every property is unique to itself, so everyone has unique features that allow something or don't allow something. Luke, you deal with it daily. And people need to understand that. As a matter of fact, spoiler alert, I'm gonna bring up tree ordinance during our time, okay? Because we need to tweak that tree ordinance. And I know I'm gonna hear, well, if you do it for this guy, you don't do it. No, we're not gonna do it that way. Or at least, that's not the way I would, if it's a danger, but we'll get into that later. So the point is, it's a case by case, whether Joe Blow